This is the iPad mini 6, and while it's far from perfect, I think it's the best tablet Apple makes today. Let's talk about it. So, it's been almost 2 years since the 6th gen iPad mini came out, but even today, in 2023, it still has plenty to offer, unlike my voice, which is completely shot. Positioned square in the middle of Apple's current lineup of iPads, it's equipped with an A15 Bionic and 4 gigs of RAM. This isn't anything earth-shattering compared to the M1 or M2 chips that Apple puts in other iPads, though it still provides plenty of performance for most of the things people probably want to do on it, like stream video or web browsing. Keep in mind, this device still has full iPadOS and can run almost everything in the App Store, which makes it a capable little machine. The consistency, availability, and support for stuff on there are the main reason why anyone would want to get an iPad to begin with. Start dabbling in features like split screen or edit in DaVinci Resolve on the extreme end, and your actual screen real estate will become a constraint well before the performance does. The iPad mini's small footprint really is its best feature. I mean, look at how it fits in my hand. It basically lends itself well to versatility and portability. I don't know about you, but I can't be the only one that has left an iPad sitting in a drawer untouched for months at a time. And a huge reason for that neglect is that iPads traditionally live awkwardly between smartphones and computers. Typical iPads are not as pocketable or portable as iPhones, and they're not that much smaller than a MacBook, which offers way more functionality through a full-fledged desktop OS and has a physical keyboard. So normally, iPads have fallen off the wayside for me. But because of its unique size, I found myself carrying the iPad mini 6 way more than I was expecting. It's easy to toss in my backpack, which, by the way, if you want to watch a video on that, I'll leave a link in the description below. But it can even fit surprisingly well in some of my smaller bags that I like taking around on more casual days. Hairball. The key here is that it's very easy to have with me anytime and anywhere, which goes a long way toward this device actually being meaningful and purposeful in my day-to-day life. If there is anything I love doing on the iPad mini 6, it is content consumption. With an 8.2-inch display and a pixel density of 326 ppi, it is the sweet spot for watching YouTube and Netflix while on a plane, especially with those tiny tray tables, or at a cafe. But since it's also small and compact, it's relatively easy to lounge with, especially while reading. I've been getting back into manga lately, and the experience feels right at home on the iPad mini 6. It also helps that you get the consistent app experience the iPad is known for, as well as Apple ecosystem features such as iMessage, if you're into that blue bubble life, as well as AirDrop, which I mainly use to offload raw photos taken from my iPhone 14 Pro Max to edit in Lightroom Mobile. Sure, I can edit on my phone just fine, but it's way easier to work on a bigger screen. What is even nicer is that the iPad mini 6 has true Apple Pencil 2 support. While I don't draw all that much, I find it handy for doodling, taking notes, or simply navigating around iPadOS. Then, when I'm done, it magnetically snaps onto the side and blends in much like it does on the iPad Pro. This is important because not only is the 2nd generation pencil one of the most popular accessories for the iPad, but it isn't even supported on every iPad in 2023. Shout out to the newly minted 10th gen iPad. While there are plenty of compromises on this iPad mini to make the size and price point work, I am glad the pencil was not one of them. On that note though, I would like to talk about the drawbacks. Get it? Draw. As I mentioned before, the iPad mini 6 isn't perfect, and there are things to look out for if you are considering buying one for yourself. First off, this is something that's not limited to the mini, and that's the UX limitations of iPadOS itself. As someone that's pretty lenient towards Apple's straightforward and consistent software approach, I still run into some frustrating quirks here and there. While iPadOS has more options than ever to organize your apps and add widgets for quick information at a glance, at this point, I feel like Apple should let you move and place your apps anywhere you want, as opposed to the linear arrangement they've been using since the start. Funny enough, I think it's totally fine on an iPhone, which is a smaller device where everything's a few quick taps and swipes away. However, for an iPad with a bigger display, it would be nice to maximize the potential of all of that screen real estate with a bit more freedom in customization. A bit more freedom. Speaking of the display, one issue that has plagued the Mini 6 since launch is jelly scrolling. Sounds like me when I jump up and down. Basically, in fast motion, like scrolling around the interface, there is this rolling jello-like effect that can be annoying for some users. This happens because one half of the screen looks like it's refreshing slower than the other, and it's pretty jarring upon initial first impression. 2 years later, while I still definitely notice it now, it hasn't been much of a deal breaker overall, especially since it's less apparent in landscape orientation while watching video, which accounts for a sizable amount of my usage on this thing. Now, if you're considering using an iPad mini as a sort of laptop replacement, it might be worth getting a new iPad Air or iPad Pro instead. Those devices come with bigger and better displays, especially on the Pro, which gets brighter for outdoor use and benefits from a 120Hz refresh rate. This, on top of better performance and larger batteries, it might be worth making the jump if you plan on gaming a fair amount, or even plan on video editing in Resolve or Final Cut Pro. Also, we have to factor in the iPad mini's age. It is almost 2 years old at this point, and unsurprisingly, there are rumors of a next-gen iPad mini that could launch in 2024. We don't have many details on it just yet, but I would love to see an SoC upgrade like to an M1 or M2, just like on the Air and Pro. This in light of Final Cut Pro releasing on the iPad specifically for these chips. This would bring Apple's littlest iPad up to spec with more power and possibly even better cameras. And yes, I can't believe I'm saying I want this on an iPad, but this has the potential to make it a content creator's best friend. In addition to using the iPad mini 6 a lot, one device that's been vying for my attention is the Galaxy Z Fold 4. I do understand that these are two completely different classes of device in terms of functionality and especially price. However, considering that the Fold 4 opened up is roughly the same size as the iPad mini, I do occasionally wonder about what an all-in-one iPhone and iPad device could look like. Samsung has sort of proven to me that they've refined the formula enough to offer something that can be both a solid flagship phone and a pretty good Android tablet consolidated into a singular device. And if the iPhone wasn't a key part of my workflow here at Overclock Media, it would probably be my primary daily driver device. It's hard to say how much of a pipe dream a folding iPhone is, but we do know that Apple is at least workshopping the idea. But what it will actually be remains to be seen. Otherwise, that's all I got for this video. Thanks very much for watching. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and let me know in the comments below, what do you think about the iPad mini 6?